Hello, everyone. Rob Guest from football.london here, and welcome to the latest episode of Golden Guest Tottenham, sponsored by NordVPN. Joining me today, it's Alasdair Gold. How are you?
Yeah, I barely recognised your voice. It's been so long. I'm all right. I hope you're well. You enjoyed your globe trotting.
Yeah, I'm back now, though. I had a big week for Tottenham. Timed it really well, to be honest. So fingers crossed, it's going to be a really good week for Spurs.
I hope so. I do hope so because season not so great, but it has the potential to be a memorable season in a good way if they can come through this week and just deliver that fourth victory of the season against Manchester United. That would be incredible. Yeah, I was trying to think what you've missed. Did you miss the second leg? No.
Yes, I was
All
away
that as
for the
well.
second leg,
Oh,
but I did keep an eye on the score and was watching the goals. So yeah,
that's all right.
but I mean, I was always confident they'd get the job done after winning 3-1 first up.
Well, I was going to say, if you just miss like Palace and Villa, it's like, oh no, oops, who cares? Apart from the paying fans, of course, that will serve that up. But yeah, you watched the biggie, and I mean, to be fair, in the Villa game, there's quite a few little kind of subplots and narratives and things to talk about. It was a very odd game in that Spurs in the first half actually played okay, which nobody expected from the lineup that was produced on the team sheet beforehand. But yeah, we've got that to talk about, but we've got a far bigger game to have a little chat about as well.
Yeah, so as we mentioned, Europa League final in Bilbao at San Mamés Stadium on Wednesday. The preparations and the build-up really start now. Spurs are flying out later today to Bilbao. I know you're going tomorrow. Few
Yeah.
plane journeys to get there, not going direct. And then tomorrow at the stadium is the press conferences. The players will be taken to the pitch as well. And I mean, we've been through this scenario before in Madrid 6 years ago, but fingers crossed this time there will be a trophy at the end of it for Tottenham.
Oh, I hope so. I hope so. 6 years ago was so exciting until the final. The whistle blew to start the game, or maybe about was it 10? How far in was it? The Sissoko handball. It was 10 minutes.
About, no, it was
Was it
about a
even that?
minute or two.
Was it
A
that
minute or
quick?
two. Yeah, yeah.
I think I've tried to erase it from my mind. I just remember the whole game going to pot from that moment. Yeah, hopefully, I would say hopefully, but Spurs do have a bit of a penchant for early goals being conceded still. So there's every chance they could do that. But yeah, it's just going to be a massive occasion. And do let us know if you're going to Bilbao how you're getting there, because I do think this is going to be one of those finals where everyone is going to be getting every possible form of transport to try to get to this final. It is not probably the most accessible. I think Madrid was. Well, I say Madrid was easier, but we had to go a bit of a roundabout route to get there, and we stayed quite far out of the city in the end. I do think it's a bit of a different situation for us because we have to kind of book it as late as possible, whereas Spurs fans are often far cleverer than us, or far more prepared to take a little bit of a gamble or take some travel insurance out on these things, and they get there early. But yeah, mine's what am I flying via Seville on the way out to Vitoria, then getting a taxi from Vitoria. So yeah, two planes and a taxi to get there, but hopefully all worth it. And yeah, like you say, the players have gone out pretty much. I think as we're recording this, I think they're heading off. Everyone's waiting for the video of who gets on the flight. It's like one of the most eagerly anticipated one probably ever, isn't it? And you just know the players they don't show us are going to cause uproar among the fans. They kind of almost need to just have a fixed camera and have like a 3-minute video of every single player going on that plane. We'll have that, and then yeah, tomorrow we'll have press conference with Ange. We'll have two players press conferences as well, just to add to the extra workload. One I presume will be Sonny as captain, and the other one I suggested Pedro Porro because I thought that'd be a really good one. Because if you think about it, he can speak to the Spanish media absolutely fine. His English is improving a lot as well, so he can kind of do the English media. I'm sure Tottenham will completely disregard my view on it and put someone up we've had a million times like Vicario or something like that, but we'll see. Then we've got an open training session in the stadium, which I've never been there, but it looks incredible. Have you been to that stadium?
Yeah, it's incredible. Really, really impressive. And it's really easy to get to in Bilbao. Everything's walking distance. You can just walk down the river to it.
Nice.
It's fantastic.
Nice. I just had to pick my seat, actually. I had to pick my media seat, which I was in a bit of a low priority group. So lots of other people got in there first. But I got it. Hey, I'm there. I'm in the stadium. That's all that
You
matters.
in the away end then with your laptop?
Can you imagine that? Every goal goes in like flinging my... Well, the Spurs on in the away team, are they? They're the home team.
Right, okay.
And I want to be in the way. I would go in the home end, definitely. But yeah, that would be a bit tricky while typing away. Yeah, and then so open training, and then the big one on Wednesday, the match itself. I still don't like it being during the season. I still prefer them to be after the season's done and run its course, especially as it helps you get a few players potentially back as well from fitness, which we'll talk about certain players. But now looking forward to it. I think the weather is supposed to currently be quite nice on the Tuesday, maybe not so great on the Wednesday night. I've seen some reports saying it should be nice, some saying it's going to be a bit wet. Probably don't want it to be wet. Maybe it's then more like a Manchester evening, isn't it? We don't want to kind of give them any advantage whatsoever. Not that it doesn't always rain here as well down south, but yeah, it's going to be a fascinating contest, I guess. It's just so many stories within it, which is great for us journalists, but also for the watching public as well.
And all eyes are going to be on Postecoglou's team and who's fit, who's not. Question marks over Lucas Bergvall, even though Andrews said that it was Thursday in his pre-match press conference that it's still going to be the same time frame for him to get back, and it's going to come too soon for him, the final. Pat Matassar went off with a bit of a knock the other day at Villa Park, so is he going to be fit or not? But I think when you look at Andrew's team at Villa on Friday night, that's dropped a huge hint over his team to start against Manchester United. And when you're looking at it like that, I think there was 7 players on the bench. He was resting a doggy, Mickey van der Ven, Christian Romero, not even in the matchday squad. So they're going to come into the team. I think there's only one place up for grabs.
Which place are you thinking? Midfield?
It depends on the formation.
Yeah, exactly.
It's whether he opts for either the usual 4-3-3 or he decides to do a midfield 2 of Benteke and Basuma and then fit Sonny in with Richarlison, Johnson and Solanke. But do you do that for a final or do you just stick to what you know?
Do you think he was looking at that formation, albeit with different players, on Friday night?
Quite possibly.
That's what it was. It was a 4-4-2, really, because Alasdair was so high up alongside Tell for most of the game.
Yeah, very true. I think you're going to test it, aren't you? A few days before. You're not just going to go like a couple of days before in training. All right, we've been doing 4-3-3 all season. All of a sudden, we're going to do a brand new formation.
Feels a bit late, doesn't it?
Yeah, it doesn't quite work like that. But we'll see. I think just going on his decisions in the past 2 games, I think there was probably always like a big question mark over Richarlison, whether he starts, whether he doesn't. But the fact he didn't come on against Crystal Palace, then came on with 3 minutes to go at Villa, and Dominic Solanke came on before him. I think that hints at Richarlison starting.
Quite possibly. Yeah, I'd agree with that. I think, barring Son, I think he had the rest of the 10 players off the pitch. I think he did. I think that was the plan. I do think something changed as soon as Decky went down injured against Palace. I think he was going to use this game, like United did at Chelsea, as a bit of a tune-up match for them, because I'm still not entirely happy about the fact that they're going to go like 13 days between games. I don't think that's the best way to prepare for a final. We saw what both teams were like in 2019. They were horrendous. It was like they had no rhythm to the game whatsoever, because it had been 3 weeks between games, I think. Then 2 weeks, 13 days maybe isn't enough to completely lose your touch, but a lot of those players have been playing once a week, like Mickey van der Ven, rather than a lot of football. We'll see. But yeah, I think probably the rest of that team is going to pick itself. It's just whether he plays it as a as a 4-4-2 with Richie off of Solanke off of Richie, or whether Richarlison maybe goes left and you have Sonny as a number 10, kind of in front of Bentancur and Basuma. That's a possibility. Yeah, Pat Matasar. Oh, he said the dreaded words about Pat Matasar. He said, "I don't think it's anything too significant." Just when he says that, I almost want to scream and go, "No, don't say it again. We've heard you say it so many times." And like players have literally been on their deathbeds about a week later. It's just, and it's not his fault. Like I think a lot of people have gone for Postecoglou on that. It's not. It's Postecoglou afterwards spoken to the player. The player has told him, "Oh, I feel okay. I don't think it's anything bad." The medical staff has said, "Yeah, at this moment doesn't seem anything bad." Then they have a scan and they realise something else is going on there. So whether it's just a case of maybe in future, when asked about injuries, he should just go, "Yeah, we don't know yet. Well, let's see," rather than going, "No, I don't think. I think it's okay. I don't think it's anything significant." Quite frankly, if he ever said that to you, you'd be like, just don't tell me how I feel, please. Please leave me alone. We'll see with Pat Matasar. I feel like Pat has had back things before. There's been something about his back in the past where he had a bit of an issue with it. So it could just be a little complaint that he has sometimes. But I'm not going to guess, because that's the worst thing to do with any Tottenham injury. But then I guess that's kind of why people aren't 100% trusting about the Lucas Bergvall stuff, because there's two aspects to it: that Spurs have got injuries wrong in the last couple of seasons, but also I think if I'm Postecoglou, I'm probably going to try to protect Lucas as much as possible and not put any pressure on him to be fit for the final, and just say, no, he's not going to be there. And if he is, it's a pleasant surprise. I mean, from what I understand, I think he's going to be desperate to try and play in the final. I think it will just be a day-to-day thing. How is he feeling? How's it responding? It will be, I think he got the boot off last Monday. I think I saw him walking around the open day. I think we later ascertained it was without a boot. So I think it had been the Monday it had come off. So that's a week to today, 9 days until the final. A lot depends on what's happening underneath that protective boot. You know, whether the ligaments or whatever it was the actual problem. I don't think we ever got told. We just got told it was ankle injury, didn't we? So whether those ankle ligaments, I think the key is you don't want to cause any permanent damage or more serious damage or another kind of injury that from it. If it is just that he might have a bit of tenderness and soreness in it and he can play through it, you're going to get him into that kind of probably on the bench. He probably wouldn't start regardless because he's been out for a while. But yeah, that team is going to be absolutely fascinating when it comes out. And, you know, you never know. The fates may have it that there's another injury on the way just before, or the fates may finally decide that it's not Tottenham's turn and United might have an injury in training ahead of the game. You just don't know how these things are going to work.
There'll probably be illness this time, not injury.
Oh, not lasagna gate all over again.
Yeah.
Well, paella gate.
Yeah. Well, I was going to ask you about Bergvall,
Yeah.
whether he starts if he's fit. I think you just put him in the squad. I think that gives everyone the lift.
I think so.
And then if you need it, just painkilling injections to get him through. Because you wouldn't want to start him and then it completely backfires, such as like Romero against Chelsea in December and he comes off after 15 minutes and it's a waste of a substitute.
Yeah.
I think you probably have him on the bench. Then if you need to bring him on, because we've seen that numerous times this season in games where he hasn't started, Spurs have been poor, and then Bergvall's come on, lifted the tempo and got Spurs back into it. It might be a case of that's if he is available to take his place in the matchday squad. And I suppose there's going to be big question marks over Son, whether he starts or not. Given he's played 75 minutes against Villa, did he get about half an hour to his name against Palace the week before?
Yeah.
Is that a start now for him?
I think it's enough. I think so. I love the fact that you turned away to cough and made the cough as loud as it would have been if it was in the microphone anyway. It's exactly what I would do. Yeah, with Sonny, I saw little aspects of the Sonny that we love in the performance. Not a lot, but just little aspects of sprinting away from players. He's kind of almost like half to half runs where he was leaving players in his wake, and we haven't seen a lot of that this season at all, which kind of suggests this foot injury has been more of an issue for him for a longer time. Definitely there were moments where, yeah, he looked like the Sonny that can kind of cause any team a problem. And if he's going to play like that, you get him in there on the left wing. You're starting him straight away, or in a number 10 role, whichever way they're going to go for. But yeah, I think he's fine. Yeah, your point on Romero, the comparison with Bergvall is a good one. I think because Romero's injury was a different injury, wasn't it? But that's exactly what Lucas Bergvall could do, because he's been out of action in terms of training as well for a while until, coming back. And even when he first came back, you would presume after the boot coming off, it's probably going to be light running work, just testing it and things like that. So when you haven't trained a lot, you're kind of susceptible, I guess, to straining a completely different muscle because you haven't been using them in a few weeks and stuff like that. So yeah, it could be a Romero situation. So I would agree. I think if he could possibly be on the bench, that would be incredible. And have him there as someone that can try and turn the game if it's not going Spurs' way later on. But yes, Sonny, I think Sonny has to start. He's your captain. He's a rare, experienced player in a team that hasn't got a lot of them. And yeah, we know he's had hasn't had the greatest season, even though his numbers aren't as bad as you would expect them to be at all. He's actually contributed quite a lot in terms of goal involvements, but it's kind of feels like it would be lovely if it was the Sonny final. If this was the one where he did it for Spurs, he did it for himself as well, it would justify everything about, I guess, just sticking around at Spurs as well when everyone was trying to say he should have left, years ago and things like that. And the year after, I guess, well, technically 2 years after, Harry Kane left as well to become the captain and to do what Kane always wanted to do with Spurs as well. It would be pretty special. So yeah, I'd love to see Sonny start. How long he'll last, of course, is another thing.
Yeah, I think he'll start. I mean, even if he's on the bench, it's still a great option to bring on late in the game if you want. But I agree with you, against Villa, showed, flashes of his brilliance running at the defence, making those runs upfield. But then again, what you could also say about that, he showed that he's rusty with the final action. I think there was once when pass went across the area and no one was there. He did go close with a curling effort in the first half as well, what just went over Martinez's crossbar. But I think getting 75 minutes in the tank was huge for him, because you maybe expected Ange to hook him at half-time, just give him those 45 minutes, but to get an extra 30 minutes in the tank, I think he's probably proved he's fit enough to start a final now, and I'd be shocked if he was on the bench, to be honest. But before we speak a bit more about Wednesday's final, we're going to talk about our sponsor, NordVPN. And ahead of a final, the best way to celebrate, buy NordVPN and change your virtual location to Spain. I'm sure you're going to be using Nord, aren't you, this week?
Oh, absolutely. I will need it out there in Spain. And yeah, if your location cannot be Bilbao, make it your virtual location with NordVPN. Absolutely. Love that. Yes, I will be using it. I will be needing to certainly access everything I need to from back home when I'm out there. I don't know what the pitch side monitors are going to be like in the media box, whether I'll have to rely on coverage from back home or not. I can't remember. It's quite a newish stadium. I would imagine every seat will have one.
It is the final, so you'd imagine UEFA pull out all the stops. They've got to. It's not going to be like non-league, is it? There's no screen.
But it'd be my luck that the one screen I've got is broken or something like that. But yeah, so I will certainly be using Nord out there, whether that is to access stuff from back home that I want to watch or access, or when I'm at home and I'm trying to look up stuff from around the world, and whether that be booking holidays like Guesty likes to do, whether it be booking concert tickets, flights, trains, anything that might be cheaper if you're doing it from the destination country. That's what I'll be able to use NordVPN for, because NordVPN is the fastest VPN in the world, and that means no buffering, no lagging, and you can stream your favorite shows from anywhere in the world without your bandwidth throttling. Nobody likes their bandwidth throttled. You can also get the best discount possible, really, off your NordVPN plan by going to nordvpn.com/goldguest, where our exclusive podcast link, gives you 4 extra months on a 2-year plan. And there's no risk at all with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. And in case you just missed that link, it's in the podcast episode description box.
Just going back to Friday's defeat at Aston Villa, then we've spoken about Sonny making his case to start in Bilbao on Wednesday. Anyone else catch your eye? Anyone else giving Ange something to really think about?
Good question. I think more people showing him that if needed, they won't let him down is probably the way I would put it. I'm not sure anyone held their hand up and defiantly declared, pick me, Ange, pick me now. But I do think that they just suggested, look, if you need me on the day, I'll be there. And I would say Danso and Davis both did that. I thought they probably came away with a fair bit of credit. I thought Danso, there's the odd iffy pass, but I actually feel like, Postecoglou might surprise us all, maybe goes for a back three, pushes the wing backs on, because we know that they're both very experienced as wing backs. And if that happens, you think Danso would slot in there, really. And I thought he did okay. I thought, I should stress, just in case some reason people just didn't want to watch the game, didn't see it, Spurs picked a shadow 11, an absolute shadow 11. Let's be honest, Sergio Reguilon starting at left back. Sergio Reguilon has not started a Premier League game this season. That was his first start in the Premier League, second overall with the Tamworth game. Do you know, he was all right. He was surprisingly okay. I really was expecting him to be incredibly rusty and off the pace.
He came on against Newcastle, didn't he?
He's played Premier League games, but that was his first start in the Premier League.
He looked good against Newcastle when he came on as well. He's done all right in his game time.
Well, there's a question for you, which I'm sure some Spurs fans are asking. Should Ange have used him more this season?
Well, I think he's pointed it out already that, they probably would have done things a bit differently, given everything what's happened. I think there'd probably be more squad rotation, but I mean, we're not going to go into the foreign numbers in the Europa League, but Sergio Reguilon would not have been in that squad anyway. But I think he's there as an option. Yeah, he's an option if you want to rotate. And let's be honest, it took till December really for Jed Spence to get a decent run of games as well. Yeah. So
yeah. I mean, I get his contract situation he is clearly just running his contract down now towards its end, but doesn't seem to have been any kind of noises or anything coming out that he's been a disruptive influence or anything like that. So certainly sounds like he's just been getting on with it, other than sliding into Brendan Johnson and almost taking him out of the final accidentally. Yeah, it was a weird kind of, that first half performance was ironically one of the most organised Spurs have been in the Premier League. They were actually like really compact, really kept Villa at bay, other than one decent kind of Watkins glancing touch that Kinski did really well to dive at full length and push away. But they actually created a few chances the other end. You had that Sonny shot you mentioned, the Sonny pullback that didn't get to anyone. You also had Odegaard with a lovely back flick from Tell's cross, which he just put it straight at Martinez when anywhere else would have gone in the goal. So they did fine. Weirdly, the game actually, for me, turned on Sarr coming off and Basuma going on. Because Sarr had played quite well, and Basuma came on and was just like he was already in Bilbao. He's just like, thinking about is, what shall I pack? What shall I put? What shall I bring with me? Because he was a bit all over the place, which isn't great ahead of a final. I guess there's probably an element of also not wanting to commit yourself and getting injured, maybe subconsciously. I don't know. But yeah, so this shadow team, you had that. Everyone in every position was kind of, barring Son, not the player you'd expect to see there on the day. Davis and Danso, like I said, I thought Tell was quite bright again. He's definitely got a really excellent work rate about him. He's got some really nice touches. I don't think he maybe always uses them in the best moments, but he is very young. I mean, he's just turned 20, hasn't he? So there's more adaptation to the Premier League to come if that all goes through. Odegaard, better in the 10 position than he was against Palace. I'll give him that. There's definitely a little bit more to it. As Postecoglou said afterwards, he still looks like a player that hasn't played a lot of football this season. I agree with that. I do think he looks incredibly rusty, but I also just think he's a very raw player. I think he's a player that is nowhere near the kind of, not even finished product, but the kind of the middle product, as it were. I still think he is so much that needs to be kind of polished on his game. He's got bundles of talent. He's not, I think he's maybe has, I was going to say he's lost a yard of pace, but I think it's more in his mind. He's probably a little bit worried about the hamstrings. I don't think he's actually lost it physically. I think he's probably just lost it a little bit mentally at the moment, and it can come back the more confidence he gets in his body. But yeah, it's the decision making. It's the end product. That's where he's got to improve massively. So I think those 4 players in particular probably put themselves up as if to say, look, if you need me, I'm there. I'll hopefully do everything you want me to do. No one else really probably stood out for me. Archie Gray, another difficult day to a degree, probably slightly better than he was against Palace, but that kind of isn't hard because he wasn't great in that game. It's just been a learning season for him, isn't it? It's a huge kind of adjustment to coming into a very difficult situation at Spurs. I mean, playing a centre back for 3 months every 3 days was just like I think we said in the last podcast or so that Postecoglou alluded to him having like an accumulated fatigue, which is very possible from that period. I'm just trying to think off the top of my head if anyone else really convinced me they deserved a place. I don't think so. If Sarr's fit, then yes, we know he can do a job against United. He's had some big nights against United. But yeah, that's about it. Funnily enough, maybe the one person for the long term, we know he's not registered for Europe, but I thought Kinski was good. I thought he made some really good saves. I thought his distribution was excellent. There was one throw to Odegaard early in the second half. Brilliant throw. Odegaard just took this really heavy touch and went across a defender when he should have gone straight forward. But yeah, that's definitely some nice signs there, I think, for the long term. That I think he's going to give Vicario a real battle, probably from next season onwards, to be honest. But no one really screamed, pick me now, Ange.
Yeah, I think a few probably pointed out maybe have been better to start Brandon Austin just because Kinski's not registered in the Europa. But I can't imagine it'll come to that with Austin needing to go in that at some point. But who knows? It's Tottenham.
Done it now.
After all.
What did you say that for, man? Yeah, I get it. I get the Austin argument, absolutely. But also, I guess Kinski's probably not had a guarantee of playing time, but has probably been sold on the fact that he was going to play a fair little chunk of football this season. And this was another way of saying, look, don't worry, you're there. You're our number 2, and you've got a chance to be number 1 in the years to come.
Yeah. But in terms of those who started, I think we'll see Matisse Tell at some point in the final. I don't think he'll start, but he'll be coming on. Yeah. Maybe similar to what we've seen in Europe, where it's Richarlison starting and then Tell coming on at some point in the finals.
Defensive work's much better now, Tell. Works hard.
Yeah. It's just in the final third where things haven't really clicked for him. But as you pointed out, as only young lad, it's always going to take a bit of time to get used to, the demands of the Premier League. And
could have had an assist, if Odegaard puts that away.
Yeah, maybe we'll see a bit more of him in the Premier League next year, but that's all going to come down to Tottenham and whether they decide to take up that option to sign him. Head of the final then, we've spoken quickly about the Tottenham team. I couldn't believe the team United put out, going on what Ange did, and then Ruben Amorim was gone pretty much full strength at Chelsea. Surely you rest in players like Bruno Fernandes and a few more of those key players, but on the other hand, topping up the levels, aren't they? I suppose.
Yeah, he took the other view that we were kind of saying about that you don't want to go into a final kind of a little bit flat and off the pace, and we'll see. It kind of could work either way, couldn't it? It could be that United start that little bit sharper because they've played more recently, and it could be that Spurs, as the game go on, maybe a little bit fresher and fitter with the energy levels at the end, potentially. So, yeah, you just know if Spurs had done the same, they would have ended up with about 6 injuries from the game. It's just the way it would have worked. It's like people were criticising Postecoglou for playing Kulusevski against Palace, even though he clearly needed minutes. He was so rusty. And the plan was to give him 45, and he got injured and went off after, 15, if that. So, yeah, I get why Postecoglou's not a fearful man, but I can understand why he would have been scared in those moments. Whereas with United, probably have less of those fearful moments to worry about. And I think they said there was a few little knocks and stuff during the game, but nothing kind of major that's going to put them out. Yeah, they're not, let's be honest, they're not really going to be missing anyone particularly for the final. I think it's going to really kind of give Spurs course a great jubilation unless there is a Bruno injury in training in the days ahead, which is obviously very unlikely. Do you think Spurs have still got enough about them, despite having no creative midfielders, to do it essentially?
Yeah, of course. There's still some great players there in the final third. Maddison's a huge miss in Europe. He's been so important. You can look at these big moments he's produced in Europe so far this campaign to help Spurs get to the final. Decky's a big miss, but Decky's not been his usual levels in recent weeks since that injury. Bergvall, let's wait and see what happens, but I still think there's enough there in the final third for Spurs to go on and win the game. I know they've got the better of United 3 times already this season, but I think that just goes completely out the window for a final. And United have been in finals in recent years. I think that's going to be a massive boost for them going into another one. They've got that experience. I know it wasn't under Amorim, it was under Ten Hag, but still a lot of those players have featured. But I think if you're looking at the Tottenham players compared to the Manchester United players and you're making a combined 11, I think there's going to be a lot more Spurs players in there. Yeah, I've full confidence they can get what they need in the final third, and fingers crossed there'll be a trophy parade on Friday.
Yeah, that's it, isn't it? They've had to plan that. You have to talk to relevant authorities and let residents know, schools, businesses, everything. So we do know that we know it's a big if Spurs win, there will be a trophy parade on Friday afternoon that will wind its way from, I think, Edmonton down towards the stadium. But let's see if they get there first. Yeah, we're back, aren't we? We're going to be back on the morning of the final, hopefully, if all goes to plan, to do a little preview on the morning of everything that's happened out in Bilbao up to that point.
Yes, we are. I know you've done a number of interviews with the Tottenham players. There was a media day at Hotspur Way last week. Yves Bissouma, someone you spoke to, that interview's gone out. There's another one coming out tonight, and there's going to be plenty more before Wednesday as well.
Yeah, it was a good day. We kind of filled our boots in a way with speaking to all the various players. But obviously, it was really weird. It was a media open day for a final, which was at that point 9 days later. So you can't kind of release everything comes from it the first night because it's kind of pointless. So there's all these interviews that are staggered and across the days. I think we've got a Mickey van der Ven one going out tonight, which is a really good one. Tomorrow is a Brennan Johnson one, which is quite a good one. And there's a Vicario one that was quite fun as well to come. I'm trying to think if there's any else. Kevin Danso's already been out. Loads of kind of nice little insights going into a final. And like you say, for a number of these players, it's their first experience, which isn't always the worst thing. It means you haven't got that baggage of kind of past failures. It's not the worst thing at all. But then you do have some players like Romero who have, done massive things in massive finals, and even Postecoglou's final record is pretty good. So fingers crossed that Spurs can do something special on Wednesday night. And can you imagine our next pod after that? It will be wonderful.
Right, we'll leave that there for today's latest episode of Golden Guest Top Tottenham. It's only going to be a short podcast, as Ali says. We're going to be back on Wednesday. Then I imagine there'll be another one later in the week. Fingers crossed we will be talking about a Tottenham triumph in Europe. Until then, just keep with us at football.london for all your latest Tottenham news. To get the best discount off your NordVPN plan, go to nordvpn.com/goldguest. Our link will also give you 4 extra months on the 2-year plan. There's no risk with Nord's 30-day money-back guarantee. The link is in the podcast episode description box.